Hello and welcome to the all-new NRLW Weekly podcast with me, Marlee Silver, and NRLW legend Ruan Sims, thanks to Light and Easy fueling women in sport. On the show today, we get Ru's wrap from the NRLW round that just finished. We cannot have this show without talking about the way the Matildas have taken the country by storm and what that means for other female athletes. We've also had the announcement that there will be a Pacific Cup Championship at the end of the year, and we preview what to expect in round 5. But first, Ruan, it's lovely to be beside you as always. We were blessed with another great round of NRLW. How did you see it?
Yeah, it was another great round of footy. Plenty happening. Some interesting scorelines. I think people might not have been expecting some of the results that came through. But yeah, again, another high quality round of footy and another reason to be so excited about this expanded competition.
Absolutely. Can you give us who was your standout player for the round?
My standout player for the round, Samaima Taufa. She was fabulous for the Raiders. She was fantastic. She led from the front, as she always does, but she was just a powerhouse through the middle. And that runaway try that she scored, woo, my goodness, it just brought back some memories. But yeah, she was fantastic. She was my standout player, followed very closely by Tamika Upton, who I thought was fantastic for the Knights on the weekend, and Jamie Frezard, who got a triple on the weekend. And if she hadn't had to... if she hadn't gone off, she probably would have got 4 for that head injury. So Jess Surgis scored the try where Frez would have been. So, so they're my 3 for the round.
Yeah, I spoke to Jamie Frezard after that game at Shark Park too, and she said that as soon as she came back on, Olivia Koenig said to her, "You were there. That was your 4th try. That should have been you." So she was a bit filthy at that. But
she would have been the 3rd ever NRLW player and the 2nd Rooster to score 4 tries if she had. So
a little bit of statistics there. And was there a standout game? Like, what was the best game of the round for you?
I think it's probably going to surprise people that I'm not saying the 1-point victory by the Raiders, but I honestly think the game between the Knights and the Titans on Sunday afternoon was fantastic. Obviously, the Titans going in undefeated into that game. The Knights coming off a really great run into that game. And it was always going to be really tough for the Titans because they've had a lot of travel. They've had some really tight clashes. And then the Knights, we know exactly what they're capable of. So, yeah, very exciting. And they did that without their powerhouse, Caitlin Johnston, as well, the Knights. So that was, my game of the round.
If my memory serves me right, I think that's the game that we picked as the one of the round too. So it lived up to expectations.
It did. It lived up to its billing, which is always good.
Fantastic. Well, we have to take a little bit of a sidestep from rugby league for a hot minute because there is a moment happening in this country that is coming to a bit of a pinnacle tonight because the Matildas, for the very first time, they're the first Australian soccer team to make it to the semi-finals in a World Cup. They have absolutely taken over all of our media, all of our attention, and my goodness, does it feel good.
It's amazing. It is fantastic. And I've got nerves like it's game day for me. Like I have all of these butterflies in my stomach and I'm feeling a little bit edgy and you just get the feeling that everybody you speak to about it, people who... No, I don't watch a lot of soccer, but I watch because of the Matildas, and that is really exciting. I think it's wonderful. And I think I read somewhere that junior sign-ups are up 170% because of the Matildas' success. I think that's incredible because obviously junior pathways is the lifeblood of any sport. Yeah, that's fantastic. This is also fantastic.
Yes,
can you see that? This is the front page of the Herald, Sydney Morning Herald this morning, and The stuff around it is, no national team has basically stopped a nation the way this team has and will tonight, and not since Kathy Freeman running at the Sydney Olympics. Well, has it had the same sort of impact? So I think that's fantastic, and it's great for sport. It's great for women's sport in Australia as well as across the globe, and that's what excites me the most about it. And people, like I said, people who don't normally get into soccer are just cheering for the Matildas. And it's been, 2 weeks?
Yeah, just
3 weeks worth of really dominating headlines.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a women's team in Australia or women's sport dominate headlines the way they have over the last 3 weeks, and that excites me. I think
absolutely. And for those who are listening to the podcast, not watching on the YouTube, the cover of the Sydney Morning Herald that we can see, it's this beautiful cartoon of Kathy Freeman in her famous 2000s running suit, high-fiving the Tillies girls as they prepare for this matchup against the English tonight. So everyone's calling it like a third Ashes or something for the year, which is a great one. Yeah. I do have to say a little humble brag. After being at the doubleheader at Totally Workwear Stadium up in Brisbane on Saturday, literally as I came off air, hit my Uber app, got straight in a car to Suncorp, and I got to watch the Matildas. Very cool. Which was amazing. And I was so emotional, and I have been through this whole campaign because I keep thinking about what it means for the next generation of girls, regardless of whether they want to be soccer players or if they'd rather be a Jillaroo or if they'd rather be someone who's like us, behind a microphone when they talk about sport or whatever. The impact and the ripple effect of these positive stories and this true equaliser of it's not women's sport we're talking about, it's sport in general, being presented in this way does so much for the perceptions that young girls have of themselves, what they believe they can be as they grow up, and also of little boys who are going to think it's really normal to see female athletes on the front cover of things. Yeah. And I think the best bit about it, when we think about specifically the NRLW and the other female codes that exist in a domestic sense, is that this shows what you can do when you invest with real dollars into women's sport.
It does. And, there's a lot of science and there's a lot of facts and data around what the return on investment in women's sport is, and it is fantastic. There is a significant return on investment. Yeah. So, this is just one of the many avenues that you can utilise and say, we need to continue to create opportunities for this because what we get out of it far outweighs what we put into it and how positive it is, for society as a whole. And I think that's wonderful. And even in a light-hearted nature, even just seeing, I saw Anthony Albanese and the French President Macron, they bet on the game. That if the Matildas beat the French women's team, then the French President had to wear an Aussie jersey and cheer for the Matildas in the next game, and he's going to do it. So, just things like that, like it's galvanising and normalising how special women's sport is. It's great.
And it's unifying. I think anyone's been talking to me about, the last couple of days is, the game on Wednesday night. Yeah. And it's something that just brings people together and makes us all happy. And who can complain about that?
Absolutely. And it's front and back page of the Sydney Morning Herald today, which is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good. I feel like this is a really significant moment that we'll see a lot of this stuff in many women's sport be very normalised moving forward. In other news, back to rugby league now. We have some international rugby league to look forward to at the end of the year with the Pacific Cup Championship. So who are we going to see on show in that one?
Well, this is another month's worth of footy. So no longer will football finish on the 1st of October. No, we're going to go through to the 4th of November for you. Yes. We listened, we heard you, and we're taking it on. And by we, I mean the NRL. We're just covering it. All games live and free here on Channel 9. We're going to cover all of them.
You're welcome.
And, we might even put our hands up for a little junket. Marlee. We might get to go to some interesting places. You never know. But it is going to be fantastic. Week 1 will start 2 weeks after Grand Final, so the 14th of October. And I think it's going to kick off in Townsville.
Beautiful.
Yeah, fantastic.
Jeez, it'll be nice and hot. That's your favourite place, Roo.
No, maybe not in the middle of summer. No, I'll go anyway. I love it. I love Townsville. But it'll be Australia v Samoa in the men's and Australia v New Zealand in the women's will be played at Townsville. That's going to be fantastic. And then at the same weekend, it looks like the PNG and Cook Islands in the men will play, and then Samoa v Fiji in the women's will play at Port Moresby.
What a place to have some rugby league.
Now, you know that Port Moresby are rugby league mad. It's the only country in the world, I believe, where rugby league is the national sport. And they love it. And I loved going up there to PNG, and we've got some incredible stars in both the men's and the women's game who've come from Papua New Guinea. So that is really, really exciting. And then it's just going to kick on. We're going to Auckland the following week. There's going to be another game in Port Moresby the following week as well. And then we're coming into Australia. There's going to be 2 games, Australia v New Zealand men and women down in Melbourne.
Wow, massive.
Yeah, that's going to be big. And then back up at Port Moresby, the men are going to play Papua New Guinea and Fiji.
Wow.
Play up there. That'll be fantastic. And then week 4, it will be the finals.
Yeah.
There will be a game in Hamilton.
Great.
In New Zealand, and then another game in Port Moresby.
Wow.
So this is wonderful.
Yeah.
So we're able to give a little bit back to New Zealand, who they sent their team over here for 2 years, and kept the competition afloat by doing that. So they're being repaid by having some great games over there, and that is going to be very, very exciting. And then Port Moresby is going to be a hub for rugby league for basically all of October.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful. I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, it
for
is.
This.
It's great, and those like the Pacific nations that we have that are involved in rugby league as well are so passionate. And I think I do wonder, and this is me just spitballing here, now that we will be having the Rugby League World Cup here in a couple of years' time. Maybe this is a bit of a test to see, because we weren't originally meant to have it, France was supposed to, that we might be able to host some of those games in places like PNG and the like as we get closer to it. I think the more that we have those communities involved, the better it is. And again, we're seeing these women on show and we know like the impact someone like Elsie Albert had on participation of young girls in Papua New Guinea for rugby league. So this is going to be such a positive thing, and more rugby league.
It really is, and also really positive to have the nations of Samoa and Fiji competing in the women's space too. That's really important because we have some incredible talent that come from our Pacifica nations, and the other two, obviously Tonga and Cook Islands. Very strong showings as well. So as this grows, I'm sure we will be adding more teams to it, but I think this is a wonderful start. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's it would be silly of us not to mention that there's also some more international, even further away from Australia, rugby league that's been popped up on the calendar a little bit down the track.
Recently.
And I think that it would be silly of us to not use the podcast that the players listen to champion that there is a women's game that happens when the NRL goes to Las Vegas.
When round 1 next year is in Vegas? Absolutely. I think I mentioned it on the call this week, over the weekend. Said, maybe we should take an NRLW game to Vegas.
I think it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, we're available.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can go. We don't need anything other than you just need us there for some womenmen's footy.
And Jordan said he'd be happy to travel. We could do the podcast over there too.
We could. On the Vegas Strip.
We could do it. God, could you imagine? I just been I Heart Vegas.
Yeah.
Spreading
the word of women's rugby league. I think that's fair. You heard it here
That'd
first.
be exciting. It'd be very good. I think the players would love that too.
They would.
They would absolutely love that.
Exactly. So come on, Peter.
Yeah.
I know you listen.
Vegas, baby.
You're listening to the all-new NRLW Weekly podcast with Marlee Silva and Ruan Sims. Thanks to Light and Easy, fueling women in sport. We'll be right back after the break.
Light and Easy have been named Best Healthy Meal Delivery Service again, but you won't find us stopping to celebrate. We're busy making it easy for Aussies to achieve their well-being goals, and the results speak for themselves. Light and Easy, just good food and great results.
Welcome back to the all-new NRLW Weekly podcast with me, Marlee Silva, and Ruan Sims. Thanks to Light and Easy, fueling women in sport. Now we've got a little conversation with the Sharks' inaugural NRLW captain, Tiana Penitani. Tiana Penitani, it is absolutely my pleasure to have you here in this studio and have this yarn with you.
Thank you, Marlee.
Does it feel like being at home to you to be in a Sharks jersey now at NRLW level?
Yeah, it definitely does. I kind of often get asked about how is it, being at the Sharks, and I'm like, it's home. It really is home. Sharks has been home for me since 2019, and I've watched the whole journey and transition of them really putting their bid in for an NRLW license, and was kind of part of that process as well. And to finally be here and be in the inaugural squad is a bit of a pinch me moment sometimes, but it's really, really nice to be back at home where I'm comfortable.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because the listeners will not know this. My sister is one of the physios for your squad, and she was telling me that she got quite emotional hearing your coach, I think, talking about how many firsts there are for you guys as this inaugural team. Yeah. And like you said, it's been a big part of your own footy journey, you know, even though it wasn't NRLW level for the last couple of years. That must be pretty special.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's something that I guess we're really trying to drum into the squad. There are a lot of local girls that are finally back at home where they belong. And I think that just speaks volumes as to what the Sharks are creating and, you know, where they've been in the last 5 or so years, you know, all the way back from, I think, 2016 or 17 when they had an exhibition game when there was no NRLW. And they've really been trying to, you know, bang the door down and get to where we are now, which is really great. But yeah, just that emphasis on, you know, so many firsts within this team is something that we've been pushing over the last few weeks particularly. So it's really nice to be part of.
You've been a mainstay in the NRLW, you know, since its inception. You're someone that everyone, you know, knows, and there's a lot of girls who look up to you.
Oh, thank you.
Which is, it must be so exciting and special for you to have seen this growth, and that there'd be some young girls coming through now who knew that they could chase NRLW. Which, yeah, what is it like to you to see that growth? How exciting is it?
Yeah, it's really exciting. For like my background coming from Sevens, we were in that same space, you know, way back in 2013 when there were a handful of us in high school that were really at the forefront of that opportunity and paving that pathway. And I see so many similarities in where rugby league is now. So it's really special, especially being now, you know, 27 and one of the older girls within the squad, and having our babies kind of like look up to us and say, oh my God, you were my idol when I was growing up and when I was in high school. Like, I still forget like my age, not only my age, but I just forget that we have so much influence sometimes. And to see those girls have a genuine pathway from under 12s all the way through is incredible to know that, you know, we've had such a big part in that, in paving that pathway. And, you know, like, they always say you can't be what you can't see, and I know the current playing group are so humble in everything that like they've kind of achieved and the influence they have. But yeah, it's really nice to kind of be part of where the game is now and see it continually grow, and you know, all the way down to having the little girls with our jerseys, our names on their jerseys at our games, and just those little details are really nice reminders of where we're at and where we're continuing to go.
Are you an emotional person? Does that make you tear up sometimes?
It does, yeah. I am sentimental when it comes to that, and especially thinking about like my younger self too, and reflecting back to what we didn't have. You know, when we get asked who our favourite players were, it's the likes of Greg Inglis and, you know, all those guys, and we never had NRLW players to aspire to be like. So to know that we can be that for our babies and our next generation is, it's really special.
That is so special. What advice do you give to that next generation who are chasing this dream now?
To be fearless, to, you know, just chase the opportunities when they come, because they won't be around forever, and to really just have belief within themselves, and if they want to do it, just go for it, because the worst that is going to happen is that you'll make some best friends, you'll make some friends within the game, and that's it, whether it's social, whether it's competitive. There's just so much to experience in this game and just in sport and in life in general. So yeah, be fearless, chase your dreams.
Big thank you to Tiana for sharing with us on the NRLW Weekly podcast. It's so interesting. She was the last player to be announced as signing with the Sharks, and she's the captain, and she's such an incredible leader.
She is pretty handy for a 24 signing. Pretty handy. Got some pace. Got some leadership about her. No, she's wonderful. She's an incredible athlete. She has done so much in such a short period of time in the game, and I think she's a wonderful advertisement for the women's game. She does so much more than just play footy too. So
absolutely,
she's fantastic, Tiana.
Yes, definitely agree there. Now, you guys have been sending your questions in, and we welcome all the listeners to send through your questions every week. We love to hear from you. So I've got a couple for you, Rue. The first is from Amy. Amy asks, it's early on, but who is your tip for the Dally M this year?
I'm going to stay with my pre-season tip, Samaima Tolfa.
Yeah.
I also think she might be
she's at the
well ahead on the Dally M votes as well. So, I think she's ahead by 4 points.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's a short season, so it's hard to catch her.
And ahead by 4 against a teammate. Zahara Temara
Wow.
on 11 and Sala Tongatuki on 11 as
Wow.
well.
Wow.
So and then obviously there's a little bit of a backlog, unsurprisingly. Polite, Berry, Aiken,
Yes.
Upton, Kelly, Brigginshaw and Tonagato. So that's a pretty star-studded
holy.
leaderboard. But 4 points ahead after 4 rounds is incredibly impressive. And I knew she would be impressive this year. So I want her to stay injury-free and keep playing the way she is. She's carving up.
No surprises with that list at all.
No.
Like, those women are
amazing.
killing it. The next question is from Jessica. Jessica asks, hey, Roo, did you ever have any pre-match superstitions before you played a game?
Ooh. I used to always like to have like butter and Vegemite on toast
Okay.
as part of my breakfast. I
Yep.
always felt like I needed the Vegemite.
Yes.
And that's about it really. Because I didn't want to get too bogged down in the superstitions. Because then if something goes wrong and you can't get Vegemite or whatever, or you can't get something that you need or whatever, it just throws your whole mindset off. So I tried to break myself of those superstitions as much as possible so that it just became a preparation as opposed to I must do this in this order. I didn't want to drive myself crazy.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with different ways of
some
doing
of the superstitions that I've heard from some athletes like really freak me out. My housemate is a professional rugby league player, and it's very interesting watching his routine. I think it's more of a routine.
Yeah,
like
routines. are
go
better.
for a swim, eat breakfast at he likes to eat breakfast at the same cafe, that sort of stuff. But it's not like, if that doesn't happen, I'm going to play
It falls
bad.
apart, yeah. Or like Luke Lewis, who I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this, he used to have 7 showers before he played. 7 showers.
Knowing Louis, that doesn't surprise
Lucky
me
he
at
got paid a
all.
lot of money because paying his water bill and his electricity bill would have been terrible.
He's a strange man. But I mean that with the most respect. Yeah. And your skin would be so dry.
Oh, so dry.
Oh, my goodness. That is... Anyway, let's get into round 5, shall we?
Yep.
And every single one of these NRLW games is live and free on 9 and 9. Now, make sure you're tuning in. We cannot be satisfied with just a Matildas game, right? You've got so much women's sport to watch. You should be getting around this incredible rugby league. This week, on Saturday, our first game of the round, up in Townsville, your favourite place.
Yes.
It's the Cowboys and the Sharks. What can we expect out of this one?
It's going to be hot too. Apparently it's going to be like 27 or 28 degrees. So, and it's being played at 11 a.m. So that is going to be very, very steamy, very, very hot conditions. So that is going to be challenging. I think the biggest thing, the Cowboys are probably going to be a little bit used to it.
Yes.
Maybe not that time of day used to it, but they'll be a little bit more used to the heat. And the Sharks... we'll just need to make sure they prepare well because they're travelling the day before as well. So, from the Cowboys' perspective, they've had a couple of tight wins.
Yes.
They had a good win on the weekend, again in hot conditions at Totally Workwear Stadium at Brizzy. So they're coming off the back of that. And again, it was quite a physical affair. And the Sharks are coming off a number of losses in a row. So the challenge is squarely on the Sharks' shoulders now. And I think you'll agree, the first 25 minutes of the Sharks game, you thought they're going to put the Roosters to the sword
100%.
here. And then they went away from what was working. So I think it'll just be a matter for the Sharks of being able to stay in that system and believe that that they trust the system and stay in it and work together as a unit. I think that's going to be key. Also, trying to shut down this forward power of the Cowboys is going to be massive because this forward pack allows Kira Dibb and Tallulah Tillett, who I thought returning for her very first game in NRLW for the Cowboys, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
I still think the Cowboys need to get her ball earlier in the tackle count. I don't really want to see her just getting the ball on the last for a kick. I'd love to see her get it a little bit earlier and see what she can play with and see what she can create off the back of that. But yeah, the key here, the Sharks have to shut down that middle. They must get kick pressure on Kira Dibb because she'll kick you out of the game easily. And I think Fran Goldthorpe, she's the last couple of weeks have been her best games that she's had in the NRLW. So she's definitely showing a lot of promise out the back. And China Palata last week moved from wing to the middle, then back to the wing again.
My goodness.
Yeah. But on a plus side for the Sharks, Jada Taylor is in. So that'll settle their back line down. So Emma Tonagato will move back to 6. Jada Taylor is in there. So that's going to be key for them. So they just need to maintain and contain the middles because off the back of that, that's where I think Kira Dibb creates a lot of issues and Emma Manzelman as well. So
They know how to wreak havoc.
absolutely.
Following that game, we'll head down to Sydney, where I'll be on the sideline for the Tigers v Dragons game at CommBank Stadium. Interesting matchup. I think the Dragons were showing some really good promise in that game over the weekend and just got pipped at the post. And similarly, the Tigers were in that tight contest with the Cowboys. I think this will be a good battle.
It will be a good battle. It will. But then I think about who's coming in for the Tigers. So Bo Vete Welsh returns, which is fantastic out the back. So she creates another, or she offers another layer in attack. And defensively, her structure is very sound. And then also Lasana Lutu, who I don't think we probably spoke about enough last week. What she provides off the bench is amazing. She provides another ball-playing body. She can also play lock, so she can jump into the halves if she needs to. She can jump in at 9. She can jump in at lock.
And she was a late out last week, wasn't it? Because of a knee, I believe.
She just had a knee aggravation. So it's good to see her back as well. And for the Dragons, obviously that 1 point loss will sting. Will sting for them. They got behind by a margin and were able to claw it back. So I think that's really promising signs for the Dragons. Again, there's been a number of changes that have been made to the lineup. I think Maddie Wetherell has dropped out. Ella Costa comes in on the bench. Again, this is going to be where I think the Dragons' middles really need to try and shut down Sala Tongatuki, who is running riot through the middle. She is, unsurprisingly, in that Dally M leaderboard. So they just they need to shut her down because she punches them up. Then Christian Pio jumps off the back and gets an offload or gets a nice ball-playing opportunity, and that's where the numbers come from the Tigers. And the way they play, you can definitely see Brett Kamali's influence all over it.
Yeah.
It's a really great style of footy that they play. So it's going to be coming down to defence for me.
Yeah.
Defence is going to be key in this game. So, and I think the Tigers are going to be too strong in that with that. And then obviously Pauline Piliae Rasambale will move back into 6. So I think that is going to be, defence is going to be king on the day.
Okay, so Tigers.
Queen on the day.
Queen on the day. So you're thinking Tigers for that second game?
I'm tipping Tigers at home, yes.
And did we say, are you thinking that the Sharks will get on top of the Cows in that first game, or do you think they'll
I'm
hold
saying
out?
the Sharks have to.
Okay.
I think they have to. There's no panic, but they need a win because they've got the football in them to do it. They just need to put it together for the whole 70. So
Alrighty.
I'm going to tip them away from home. In the
All
heat.
right, there you go. And the third game for our Saturday will be at Seabus Super Stadium, and we'll see the Titans coming off their first loss of the season, coming up against the Roosters, who had a very convincing win in the end when it came over the Sharks.
They did. They were very, very strong, the Roosters. And we always knew that they were going to be the force to be reckoned with throughout this season. And last week's game, for the Titans, I just felt that they were probably due the loss.
Yes.
Just because of the travel that they'd had, how tight the games were and all that sort of stuff. But this is probably going to be one of the games of the round.
I agree.
For me, this one.
Yeah.
So I will be commentating this game with very eager eyes. I think I'm really excited. But you look at the strike power that the Roosters have across the board. They are so powerful. But I think I might tip the Titans for the upset at home.
Yeah.
I might tip them for the upset. I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
Because both of these teams are so strong.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking maybe a home ground advantage might boost the Titans, along with that little bit of a flat spot that comes after a loss, and then you seem to get a really good surge of energy after that. I'm kind of tipping. That's why I'm tipping the Titans.
Yeah. And I do think in that opening 25 minutes in the Sharks game, the Roosters were caught on the back foot, and they seemed to just kind of look a little bit unsure of things. And then as soon as the Sharks stepped away,
an opportunity
they
came,
just took it and run with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You only need to give the Roosters a sniff,
Yes.
and they will run you down very, very quickly.
Yes,
But if you can, and you saw that blueprint in the Raiders game.
Yes.
That was the blueprint to take forward. So I think all coaches will be watching that and maybe that first 25 minutes in the Sharks game as well, saying, all right, well, if we do this, we might be able to push this out of it. So it's just a matter of if you can keep it up for 70 minutes against the Roosters, which is a very, very difficult task because they are extremely strong. So I'm going to tip the Titans in what some might think is an upset.
Yeah.
But only by a very small margin.
I look forward
Maybe
to that
4
game
points.
for sure. Then we get to Sunday, and the first game on Sunday will be the Knights at home, McDonald Jones Stadium, taking on the Broncos. Another really exciting matchup.
Yes, so this is probably the other game of the
Yeah.
round for me. I think this one, especially because it's a Knights home game, the men, it's another club doubleheader for the Knights. So the men are playing the Rabbitohs at 2:00.
And it's a sellout.
And it's a sellout already. It's 5 days out and it's a sellout. So this is going to be an incredible atmosphere. And I was at the game on Sunday in Newcastle, and at half time of the women's game, there were over 10,000 people there watching. So by full time, there was closer to 20,000. And that, I think, especially after the way the Knights have been playing and the way that they're winning, that town will turn out for this day of football. And because it's an early start, it's not a Sunday. It's not a Sunday arvo. It's not a late one. Yeah. It's early in the day, so a 12:00 start.
Perfect for young families.
Get your kids' sport done out of the way.
Yeah.
And then you can go watch the women at 12, watch the men at 2, and then you're out, be home by 5.
Yeah, love that.
I love it. So this one is going to be key. I thought last week Ali Brigginshaw really took control of the Broncos, and she had to because Gal Broughton was not there. She's been named to be back this week, which is a great boost for the Bronx. Chelsea Leonard-Dootsy had probably her best game of the season so far, coming off the bench for the Broncos. So she'll be looking to repeat more of that work this week. But yeah, I think that halves pairing of Broughton and Brigginshaw is going to be key. And the Knights, obviously, Tamika Upton will be firing. We know that. And I'm quite liking this pairing of Roach and Southwell in the halves. Yeah. I saw some more out of Georgia Roach on Sunday. The first game back, she obviously was just finding her feet. But last week, I think she had some really, really good touches on that left edge. So that's really exciting. And then that's bringing Yazzie Clydesdale into the game too, which she has been a powerhouse for them. And the return of Caitlin Johnston is really, really good for the Knights. So I'm going to go with the Knights at home. Yeah. Again, this is going to be a very, very tight game. There's going to be no more than 4 points in it, I would say.
Oh, that's going to be an absolute cracker. And then the final game of the round down in Canberra at GIO Stadium is the Raiders and the Eels. Now, the Raiders have been so strong, as we've spoken about, Samai Mataufa, Zahara Temara, the like. The Eels look like they had something going on, and then devastatingly to see Elsie Albert go off again with that calf. And, I mean, Abby Church playing with that much blood coming out of her nose. They showed a lot of grit and just couldn't get there.
Yeah, they showed plenty of heart, and they had to because they were up against it. The loss of Elsie is a big one. Yeah. Because obviously, like we spoke about this last week, she generates a lot of ruck speed and go forward for them. And then that allows Rachel Pearson to come into the game a little bit more. Even Rat, she will probably tell you she had a little bit of an off day with her boot. Yeah. Some of them were good and some just sprayed a little bit.
Probably was the head gash that she had going on that was leaking too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they're in the wars.
But so she'll be better for the run from last week. She will. So coming into this week, that'll be good for them. And I think I really like Mahalia Murphy at second row. Yeah. I really, really do. I think that is that's going to be really good for them going forward the more time, because she just needs to get her hands on the ball sooner. Yeah. And I think she even made the team of the week this week from the Eels side. So she's definitely got some punch and she's got some go forward. And if they can get her a little bit earlier ball, she can ball play as well. Yeah. Because of the background she has playing as an outside back and in sevens. So she's got that ability. So that's going to be important for the Eels. But again, I can't see how they can stop this Raiders outfit. Like the Raiders, again, at home, get another Viking clap in. Are you at this game?
No, I'm at the Newcastle game. So
you missed the Viking clap.
I know, but it's going to be...
The Viking clap is amazing.
It's the best.
It's so good. But, this Raiders outfit, they look good across the board. Their bench, I think their bench is what is going to win the game for the Eels. They've got incredible strike in their starting lineup. But their bench is very strong. Yeah, it's very, very strong. So,
actually, interestingly, before we started recording the show today, our producer extraordinaire Jordan Weir of First Dates fame, if you've ever watched that reality TV show, but he was saying to me before the season starts started, when we had a day of interviews with the girls, he finished that day thinking, oh, the Raiders could win this because of the culture and the banter between the Sophie Hollyman and Jemima Taufa, and just how happy they seemed and talking about what they've built down in Canberra because all of them had to move there.
Yes.
And we're seeing that on the field now.
Yeah.
I tend to agree. It looks like they're really enjoying playing together.
Yeah.
And we're seeing some beautiful footy.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of mindset that you're seeing out of the Cowboys.
Yes.
At the moment too, because they have to move so far away from everywhere else. All they do is together.
Yes.
Everything they do is as a unit.
Yeah.
And you can really see that in
For
both
sure.
of these squads who
Yeah.
they're both brand new franchises. They're brand new clubs. And to see how well they've gelled so quickly, that is a testament to the work that staff have put in, all that sort of stuff, and their leadership group, everything. But it's also because they just do everything together, which is fantastic. So,
Love it.
I think the Raiders are the real deal. for
They
me.
really are.
They're the real deal.
I love it.
I'm tipping the Raiders at home to come away with a good win. But again, for the Eels, I see Nakia Davis-Welsh is on the bench.
Yeah.
I really want to see her get in a little bit closer to the ball because I think when she does, she sets things on fire in a good way.
Absolutely. Well, we are certainly in for another great round of rugby league. Watch every game of NRLW live and free on 9 and 9 Now. And other than that, go the Tillies.
Go the Tillies.
And we will see you next week.